Wait a few moments, please.
All right, good evening, everyone.
One moment, please. All right.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 11th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll start by reading the public notice. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor, the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals hearing scheduled for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 at 6 p.m. will be held electronically via Zoom webinar instead of an in-person public hearing. It will be streamed live over the internet. Dated May 5th, 2021, John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, our first application tonight is number 276-21, Timothy D. and Christine Marshall. Permission to erect a second-story addition, leaving side yard of 10 feet instead of the required 14 feet, total side yards of 12.11 feet instead of the required 28 feet, and a floor area ratio of 33% instead of permitted 25%. To leave a driveway on the side property line, not having a required setback of 4 feet, and a front yard occupancy of 51.8% instead of the permitted 35%, and to leave a shed on the side property line, not having the required setback of 2 feet. Residence B District, south side of Independence Avenue, number 308, 328.74 feet west of Higbee Lane, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, hello, Charles Broody, architect.
Good evening, Mr. Broody. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Hope everyone's doing well.
Great.
As stated in the call, homeowner seeks permission to construct a rear second-story addition, leaving a side yard of 10 feet. And in the call, it says a total side yard of 12.11. But I like the board to be aware that the addition stops at the house garage line. So the setback to the west property line is actually 13.66 feet instead of the required 14, which would actually be a total side yard for the addition only of 23.66 feet instead of the required 28.
Lost me on that, Mr. Broody. I apologize.
Not a
But
problem.
even still, you still, let's leave that aside for the moment.
Okay.
You still have an FAR of
Yes.
33%.
So we're looking at,
front yard occupancy of 51.8%.
yes.
Those are some big numbers.
Yes, there are precedent for the FAR according to Deirdre and also for the 10-foot side yard. The shed itself is a small bicycle shed, so it's not more than 5 feet in height below the 6
Well, then
foot.
why don't they just move it instead of coming in and throwing that just like a little salt for the wound on top
Well,
of asking for these huge amounts of variance relief?
Well, if you look at the survey, the gate
am.
to the rear yard is only on that side, and housing the bicycles with just an easier access instead of having to go all the way to the rear yard.
Okay.
And with regard to the front yard lot occupancy, the homeowners purchased the property as is, and this just came up not known to them. And they were never told or aware. I know it doesn't make an excuse, but they were not aware of this lot coverage when they purchased the house. And it is what it is at the present time.
Well, Mr. Broody, we as a board see up to 40%
Right.
for front yard occupancy, as you know. So they would have to, I believe, would have to come down to 40% and figure it out whichever way they could. It's not, I apologize to them that they bought the house like that, but that's something we can't control or vary. So on that.
Yes, I am aware of that. I think they might have some say on that if they're part of the hearing.
That's
Yeah.
fine. They're more than welcome to speak, but that
Okay.
is what we
Yes,
see on our board, as you know.
yes, I do know that.
Are they here?
I'm here.
Oh,
Mrs. Marshall, Christine Marshall,
Just address for the record, please.
308 Independence Avenue, West Islip, 11795.
Thank you. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good of you.
I just wanted to, just speak a little bit on my behalf. I understand you're concerned with the bicycle shed. It's a plastic shed and we have absolutely no problem removing that. That would not be an issue at all.
You don't have to remove it, you just have to move it.
It's plastic and it's totally movable, so we can totally move that. Absolutely.
Right, that's what I mean. You don't have to remove it, you don't have to take it out.
Yes, absolutely. But I just did want to state that we did buy the house. We were first-time homeowners and buyers in 2005. And in 2005, during that market, it was a very, it was a high market. So we actually bought the house with 2 mortgages. So we had a first mortgage and then the second mortgage was the balloon mortgage. And we had to have 2 inspections done and 2 mortgages. And it was a big process of getting the house. So we had 2 sets of eyes looking at the property, the zoning and everything else. And nothing ever came up to us at the time that we did purchase the house.
Mr. Marshall, just to interrupt you, you're probably talking about appraisals for the mortgages. That has nothing to do with the town and the inspectors coming out there. That's for the bank's purposes. I know this area very well. I do it for a living. So that's what the appraisers would never tell you if you were out of code with your driveway for your front yard occupancy on an appraisal of the house. So please finish what you were saying. I apologize to interrupt you. I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Absolutely. In addition to that, my house is set far back. If you look at the way the house is positioned, it's set back so much further than all of my neighbors. My view is completely obstructed. So if I want to look to the left or look to the right, someone got hurt. One of the children down the block got hurt on something and I couldn't even see. And everyone's like, did you see what happened? No, my view is obstructed. I can't see. Everything is pushed so far back. Therefore, that's why the driveway is pushed so far back. So looking to the left, looking to the right, it's very pushed back, way further than the rest of the houses that are on the block. So that does put us at a disadvantage from the rest of the houses. In addition to that, my youngest son has autism. So we do have the circular driveway that was there when we purchased it. We had, like I just said, the 2 mortgages, no one did say something. And I understand what you're saying about the variance issue completely, because I've been researching this on my own. I also had 2 refinances done since then. No one ever brought it to our attention that there was a front lot of, like you're saying, the 51%. I totally understand. But my youngest son has autism. Our circular driveway that the house we bought has provided an area for us to actually take his, unfortunately, the van that we drive with him to drive it around the circular driveway. And we've now, since my house is so,
but nobody's saying you can't
back.
have, nobody's saying you can't have a circular driveway. What we're saying is that there's a big reluctance, perhaps fatal to your application of the board, to go beyond 40%. You can figure out what 40% that may be and utilize it in the way that best suits you and your family. Okay, but there's no precedent for 51%, and I don't think there's any stomach for a precedent. The board will vote however it votes, but I don't think I've seen it since I've been on the board. So you're going to get a chance to figure out how you get to 40% that, can suit what your family's needs are. Okay.
I also know that in West Islip, there's a lot of houses that do have those circular driveways that do have more than the 40%. I have a
How do
list.
you know they have more than 40%, ma'am?
If you're looking,
Did you look at a survey and do a calculation? Because that's the only way to know.
I understand that, but if you
Okay.
drive through the neighborhood and if you look through and if you look at the percentages and if you look at the addresses on West Islip, you will see there's nothing that we're looking to really get away with here.
Oh,
I'm a
can I
family
just ask,
person.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry, let me just jump in. I'd like to find out from Deidre, if I can, what type of precedent we have for the 33% FAR. And if you would, Deidre, please.
I was only able to find one precedent with an FAR of 35.9.
Thank you.
So one of 35.9,
Mhm.
and as I like to say, that's an outlier. What is the next?
The next were probably more around the 30% or under.
So you would say that 30% is the nature and character of the neighborhood. It's not 35.9. It's not 34.9. It's 30%. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And we
You
have
might-
nothing for 51.8%, correct?
Sorry, what was that?
Front yard occupancy, there's nothing at 51.8%, correct?
Nothing that high.
Okay. All right.
So-
Thank you very much.
So, Deirdre, real quick, from planning, you said there was my computer cut out for a moment. There was a 34% FAR, FAR, or what was it?
35.9.
And the other ones you say were around 30%?
Yeah, for the ones that were granted, yes.
Do you know anything about the 35.9%? Was it somewhat similar or similar property?
I don't believe it was similar. I'm not too sure. I don't think it had, I think it was just kind of a specific case that got granted that high, but I'm not too sure what exactly the conditions of the case.
What was the year of the grant, Deirdre? Do you know?
2007? It's 49507.
Okay. So the accessory structures may have been included in it.
Okay,
Yeah, they would have
I
been
might have looked.
in 2007, sure.
okay.
All right.
Mr. Brody,
Yeah.
you still there with us?
Yes, I am.
So you hear where the board kind of is going here.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
So I'm not sure if you want a little time with your client and adjourn and come back and see if they can sit with planning and get that front yard occupancy down to 40%, or the boards, from what I gathered, from what I just heard, they're leaning towards keeping it around 30% FAR. So I'm not really sure what you want to do. It seems that you're
Well,
like,
I think based on conversation, we are going to be restricted for both 30% FAR and for front yard lot occupancy. So instead of reserving a decision, I think we should go that direction, and we would have to make that work.
all right. All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry, I just wanted to see, so we would be able to do 40% in the front yard?
The board normally sees up to 40%, correct? Front yard
Correct,
occupancy.
right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may inquire, I know we early on discussed the shed.
The applicant said she was gonna move it.
Okay. thank
Absolutely.
you. Okay, thank you.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will make a motion that we deny so much of the application seeking a floor area ratio of 33%, however, grant 30%. Deny so much of the application seeking front yard occupancy of 51.8%, however, grant 40%. And deny so much of the application to leave the shed on the side property line, not having required setback of 2 feet. And I guess whatever's left, grant.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
There you go, Mr. Brady. You guys have a great night.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. You too.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next application is number 277-21, Robin and Michelle Bonson. Permission to install driveway leaving a side yard of 0 instead of the required 4 feet, Residence A District, east side of Cherry Street, number 235, 98.94 feet north of Wensley Lane, East Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
She is here. Robin, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There
I've
you
unmuted myself. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. So you're here seeking permission to install a driveway on the property line. It appears it's just the way your property is angled in. It's just towards the westerly side, correct?
Correct.
Right? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Our next application is number 217-21. It was adjourned from April 13th, 2021. Walter Connolly, permission to erect one-story addition 12 feet by 14.1 feet, leaving a rear yard of 13.58 feet instead of required 25 feet, and to leave decking having side yard of 4.5 feet and on-side property line not having required setback of 5 feet each, and rear yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 15 feet, Residence BAA District, west side of Keel Walk, number 8, 150 feet north of Central Walk, Fair Harbor. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, I am. Greg Raven, 328 Plymouth Avenue, Brightwaters, New York.
Board, I'm going to recuse myself on this application as I did last time also.
All right, very well. Mr. Raven, do you want to tell the board why we were adjourned in April and what you did to make your application better since then, if any?
We adjourned because of, I guess they were kind of egregious. The decks that lie on the south and on the west side of this house were pretty much right up against property lines. And there was also, which wasn't really mentioned, but there was a second-story deck that was not on the CO. I spoke at length with Cassie Bodemiller and Deidre, and we went through and adjusted. The first story addition that we were looking to add on pushed us to the 13.7 that you see on the site plan that Deidre has up right now. I since went back to the client, spoke with them, and it really made some very strong adjustments to the site plan to conform with the precedent. We basically relocated or cut back the existing south and west decks to get within the precedent that Deidre and I spoke about. We removed this illegal second story. We're looking to remove the second story deck. And then we reconfigured the first story addition so that we're 17 feet off of that west property line. And the addition is to the application is that we're looking to add a rooftop deck that's within the footprint of the house. So I don't know if Deidre can show the site plan adjustment there, but you see what we essentially did was we brought everything to certainly within the precedent of that's been set according to conversations with Deidre and Cassie.
I'm sorry if I can just ask a question. I'm looking at the call. It says rear yard of 13.58. So you are seeking to amend that to have
Right,
a rear yard of 17 feet even?
Right, 17, I think 17 and change 3, I believe it is, to the new
I don't
addition.
know.
According to the site plan that Mike Dunn drew up, it looks like it's 17.3 to the side of the new addition.
Right. Board have any other questions? Ms. Ryan, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, so he did change a lot around based on the precedent in the area. So as you can see, the new one-story addition is at the 17.3 rear yard. There's precedent, two cases for a rear yard of 17 feet, as well as decks, which previously here you can see it goes right up to the property line. He did move them back in 8 feet and 6.8. There's precedent in the area for rear yards of 7 feet and an 8.2. So with that all in mind, I have no objections to it.
All right, so let's go through this together, Ms. Ryan, if you would, please, for myself and especially for Mr. Wexler's benefit, because he's going to be making a motion, I suspect.
Yep.
Rear yard is now 17.3 feet, right? Instead of the required 25?
Yes.
decking having a side yard, the call is 4.5 feet. Is that remaining the same?
No, now they have, I believe that's the 6.8 feet.
I think it's
Re-
the one on the north, isn't it?
Yes.
I thought that was the rear yard.
The one on the
This is-
north is the side yard of 4, right there.
Okay, and what is it now instead of 4.5?
Sorry, I thought this was back here. Is this not the side?
No. Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Rabin, you tell me.
Right, what you're talking about is the north setback, it's 4.5 instead of what I believe is 5.
Correct, and you're leaving that, just. bear
That's
with
to
me.
stay the same, yes.
Okay, rear yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 15 feet is the call. What are you doing there?
So I'm moving that back to an 8-foot,
So it's
Off the-
8 feet instead of the required 15 feet, right?
correct.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from the board? Ms. Ryan, did you want to add anything?
Well-
No, I don't believe
Looks like I surprised you there. I'm sorry.
you did.
All right, anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? Ms.
We do have,
Pissarro?
we do have somebody who has registered to speak in case needed. She spoke at the last hearing and she supported the application, so
Okay, so she's still supporting the application. I assume.
here we go.
That is correct, still supporting the application.
Well, you know, ma'am, it's nice to see consistent people in this world. You do my heart good. Thank you. Anyone
we-
else wish to be heard?
And we have a letter that was hand delivered yesterday by the other adjacent neighbor, who is the neighbor to the south, who remains opposed to the application,
Even in its modified form.
even in its modified form. And that
Okay.
really brings us to probably the part of the application that the applicant's representative seemed to indicate might be new to the application, the 12 by 12 deck at the existing corner of the house.
That's not in the call now.
Correct. Nothing is in the call about the revision. The revision came to us too late for publication.
And what are is there a need for variance relief there?
The denial that I have, May 6, does indicate that the call of the meeting would be, if that deck, if the board were to amend it for that deck. But Deirdre and I had some conflicting information on that, unfortunately, would be a side
Mr.
yard.
Vice, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Hang on,
Mr. Vice Chairman,
Yeah, look,
Ms. Pissarro.
it's in my
finish, and
hand,
then-
it's imminent.
I know where
Here
you
it
go,
comes.
Mr. Wexler, I think
Yeah.
I'm with you, but let's go ahead. Ms.
10 foot,
Pissarro.
10 inches, so that would be, I would call that 10.9, since we don't usually discuss inches.
Instead of a required,
Correct, 15.
okay. Mr. Wexler, please be my guest.
yes, I'm just wondering about the efficacy of moving forward on a variance when it's not in the call to calendar. I don't know how we do that.
Mr. Garbarino, care to weigh in? Even if you don't care to weigh in, would you please weigh in?
You're being drafted.
We wouldn't be able to address that at this particular point in time because it hasn't been noticed to the public yet.
Okay, so, Mr. Rabin, you know, in fairness to you, you came back, you did what we asked you to do. And we don't usually do this, but I would not be opposed if my fellow board members are so inclined to grant you or to consider the relief on all the other portions of the application except that deck, just because it wasn't noticed. And I wouldn't want anything we do to be susceptible to a legal challenge. We're not really doing your client a favor then, you know? So I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that. Mr.
I would agree.
Sullivan,
I would
you all
agree.
right? Mr. Nicolia, you all right with that?
Agree. Yep.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Okay. So anyone else from the public, Ms. Pissarro, that wishes to be heard?
No, just the letter in my hand from the neighbor.
Right, which you sent around to us.
Yep.
Okay, very
Can
good.
I just ask one question? So,
Oh, you sure you want to do that?
no, I just want to make, I'm clarifying. That we're just not gonna, on this application, I'm gonna remove the rooftop deck, but that I can, because it wasn't a part of this.
If that's the way the board goes, you can apply, because technically you haven't applied yet.
Okay,
And you know, it'll be subject to another hearing, which, you know, we'll do as quickly as we can, obviously, but it won't hold up the rest of your project.
okay,
You understand?
I do.
Okay, if you want, we can hold off on the whole thing until you get the,
I'm wondering if that makes sense to just, to do that, you know.
your call, your
Yeah,
call.
well,
Mr.
I
Raven.
can't, I'm not gonna start the construction aspect of it until the fall, so maybe it makes sense, question mark?
Okay, if that's what you want to do, here's what we'll do. We'll reserve decision on this. You bring in the other application, and then we'll decide them both together. We'll recall this application at that time. Ms. Passaro, you all right with that?
Don't you need me to renotice it?
Well, no, we're reserving
Mm.
tonight. He's gonna have to be noticed for the deck, but the rest of it, we're gonna reserve on tonight, and then we can recall it when we decide the deck.
So if I understand you correctly, he's going to bring a new we're going to reserve
Right,
tonight on this.
right.
He's going to bring a new application for the deck,
Right,
and then we will decide them together.
correct.
I see you scratching your head, Greg, and I am a little bit too. So,
Oh, no, not at
This is
all.
what happens when you let lawyers finagle.
Let me explain to you guys what we have here. We have a denial that indicates the roof deck on it. It just came too late for publication.
Right,
there's-
so you're gonna publish that for a new hearing.
Right, but I don't need a new application. I don't want a new application.
No. It's
Okay.
fine. Well, it's just gonna get its own number, so to speak, or you could do it under this number and we can renotice this. However, whatever's easiest for you, Ms. Passaro.
Well, if
Thank
that's the
you.
case, I don't think we
But
should reserve
essentially,
this.
what we are doing is what I'm suggesting is that we reserve decision on this, let the other part catch up to it, and then decide it all at once.
So I think what Mary is suggesting by saying it's already on the denial and she has to notice that is that if we reserve this, I mean, can she give it a new application number?
I don't
Or
want
would
to.
it be better just to adjourn
Okay,
this?
so what is
whole
it you
thing?
want to do, Ms. Passaro? Because really, that's where this is all going anyway.
Well, let me point out one thing. The neighbor, I don't know whether she's watching us on the live stream or not, is fully aware of the 12 by 12
And-
roof deck
We're
proposal.
all in agreement that has to be noticed and be heard at a public hearing.
Right.
Nobody's trying to do anything sneaky
Okay.
with that.
So she's
Okay?
aware and
The
opposed to it.
question is, what do we do with what's before us until we hear the portion with the deck? What I'm saying is reserve, and then we'll decide it all together. If you want to renotice the whole thing and we can incorporate the minutes from this hearing into that one, that's fine too. What's your pleasure?
I could re-advertise it right now for the May 25th hearing.
The
And I
whole
would
thing.
advertise the whole thing properly this time, not with
Ms.
amendment.
Passaro, you can do a lot of things. Is that what you would like to do, however?
You better rephrase that.
Is that what we're going to do, Ms. Passaro?
I think that's easiest. I
All
think
right.
I think we will renotice it in accordance
Fine,
with,
but we still all right, so we're gonna adjourn this then, is what you're saying,
I
right?
think we have to.
All right, so I'll make the motion for the case of simplicity to adjourn until May 25th. So we can
Second.
hear everything properly. There's a second by Mr. Wexler, all in favor? Okay, all right, there we go. Opposed? None? Application reserved. Mr. Raven, thank you so much, both for your efforts and for your patience tonight
Thanks, everybody.
with Ms. Passaro and myself.
Not at all. Thank you,
All
everyone.
right, Mr. Chairman, the con is back to you,
Oh,
sir. I'll call the
thank
next
goodness,
hearing.
man. 4 attorneys trying to control the board. It was killing me.
And look, it took Mary Passaro to rein us all in.
Oh,
Here we go. Application number 278-21, Stephen J. and Tara M. Rotach. Permission to leave a second-story addition having side yard of 11.7 feet instead of the required 14 feet, Residence A District, east side of Bay Shore Avenue, number 816, 675 feet south of Rockaway Street, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Hi, Tara.
Hello.
Name and address for the record, please.
Tara Rotak, 816 Bayshore Ave, West Islip.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Probably frightened out of her skull after the last two hearings.
Well, I kept saying it's the only third application. Oh, my God.
True.
Second story addition, a little short on the side yard. Deirdre from planning, I'm assuming no objection.
No objection. There's precedent for it in the area.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion. We grant the application.
Second. All in favor?
All right.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, our next application, number 295-21, Brian Converso and Haley Meehan. Permission to erect a one-story addition 10 feet by 30.7 feet leaving a side yard of 18 feet, and leave 1-story addition 10 feet by 23.1 feet, having a side yard of 13 feet instead of required 25 feet each. Total side yards of 31 feet instead of required 60 feet, and to leave an entrance having a front yard of 49.3 feet instead of required 50 feet. Residence AAA district, south side of River Road, number 32, 316.46 feet west of South Street, Great River, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yeah, Robert McGrath.
This address for the record, sir, please.
Excuse me?
Your address for the record, please.
12 Secretog Avenue, East Islip, New York, 11730.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Go ahead, state your case.
So we want to do a rear addition, not exceeding the existing side yard that's there already.
You're just
my
squaring it
underst-
off, right?
Just squaring it off.
Okay.
The porch was existing when he bought the house, and so was the front portico, which is, maybe 8 inches over in the front. My understanding is that these houses, only 3 or 4 houses over there that wind up in a AAA zone because of, I think, the golf course behind it. But, he's not encroaching on the golf course or anything like that at all. And we're not encroaching anything further.
Your real
than what
point
the
is you're just
existing house
squaring
is.
it off, right, Mr.
Yes.
McGrath? That's your
And
real
you're,
point.
and you're leaving the other enclosed porch on the side, which holds the same side yard as the house does now, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
it's all just gonna be one big rectangle.
Yep.
There you go.
Deirdre from planning, assuming no objection, I could be wrong.
No objections.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Our next application is number 279-21, Michael and Margaret Ostrowski to renew permit for 2-family use only residence district west side of Namdek Avenue, number 1134, 375 feet north of Runyon Street, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I can't get my camera to work either, sorry.
That's okay.
Everyone wishes I couldn't get mine to work.
You hear seeking renewal 2-family use only based on age. So your parents reside with you, correct?
Yes, my father had just passed away from COVID, however.
That's-
Sorry.
sorry to hear that.
So I just have my mom now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mary, everything's in order?
Yes, everything's in order, and we're sorry about your dad.
Thank you.
Anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board of any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next application is number
Thank you.
280-21. You're very welcome. 280-21, Jerome and Denise Birdie to renew permit for 2-family use only residence AAA district east side of West Shore Road, number 295, 525 feet south of Cross Road, Oakdale, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
She's here. Let's see if we can help. Where'd she go? Okay.
Big yawn.
Anybody?
Oh,
Tough night, huh, Mr. Wexler?
yeah,
There we go.
tough day.
And I hear that.
Ms. Birdie, you'll have to unmute yourself if you can find that little red microphone in the lower left-hand corner.
I copied you, Mr. Wexler. Nice little seltzer.
Well, there you go.
I know she's here. She was writing to me in the chat a little.
She is here. She just muted.
You want to just go forward and
Yeah,
it's just a
Miss-
Yeah, it's family use. Yeah,
So
I'm cool.
the 2-family is only based on medical. The daughter, owner's daughter lives with her. Everything's in order, Mary?
Yes, everything's in order.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. See you in 3 years. Sorry we couldn't chat with you.
Next application, by the way, best presentation of the evening.
And
Next application is number 281-21. Julio Jacob to renew permit for family use only residence AA district northeast corner of 2nd Avenue, number 11 and 2nd Street, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
no, nobody has registered to represent this applicant.
Second call.
Unless you want to just, hear it now, Mr. Chairman, that's,
We can hear that if you guys want.
I don't mind.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Just get it done.
All right, family use only based on age. Mary, everything's in order?
Mr.
Everything's
Sarah?
in order. I mean, it's only its first renewal, so it's not like I could tell you that this is a long time renewer or anything like that. And unlike the last application, this person didn't register at all, so it may be that they did not receive their public notice.
All right, so let's do it for a year then.
All right.
That's
Does
good.
That way we keep
that
a
works.
short leash on it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicolia, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 1 year.
Second.
Favor?
All right,
Application granted 1 year, if you can hear us out there.
if you're watching at home. Your next application, Mr. Chairman, is number 282-21, Charles J. and Carolyn Lynn Mears. Permission to leave in-ground pool having a side yard of 14.5 feet instead of required 18 feet, and pool slide having a side yard of 9 feet instead of the required 18 feet. Residence AA District, west side of Crestwood Road, number 9, 364.3 feet northeast of Ocean Avenue, Bohemia, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes,
Okay.
we have the applicant and we have their representative.
Yes, I'm here for the applicant. My name is Paul Baroka. My address is 147 Glen Street, Glen Cove, New York, 11542.
How are you tonight, sir?
Okay. Basically, my client bought this property back in 1999, and with the existing fencing that was on the property and with an old survey that dated back to the 60s. Then in 2007, he applied for a pool permit, put in an application to maintain all the required offsets. However, he never got his pool permit closed out in 2008 because he never got an updated survey. Basically, in 2020, he applied for some solar panels and was told that he had to close out his pool permit. And then at that point in time, he was notified that, he had to get an updated survey. Once he got the updated survey, he found out that his fences, which he thought was on his property line, were not. And that's why we're here tonight with this application to see if we can get a variance to maintain his in-ground pool that's been built since 2008. And there's never had any complaints or concerns from the neighbors or anything else like that, maintaining the offsets that are proposed.
All right. Deirdre, any objection?
No objections.
Anyone wish to be heard in this application? Excuse me. Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. So have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Our next application, Mr. Chairman, number 283-21, Gary W. and Andrea J. Oakland, permission to leave a cabana with attached roof over patio having a side yard of 2.5 feet and rear yard of 2.8 feet instead of required 10 feet each. Pool patio on side property line not having required setback of 6 feet, and driveway having a side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence AA District, west side of Buckingham Drive, number 36, 673.7 feet south of Devon Road, Holbrook, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yeah, Don King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York.
All right tonight, sir. How are you? Good?
Fine, thank you.
Take the case.
The property to the rear is vacant. I sent over to the Zoning Board of Appeals the structures that are on to the north and to the south that are If you look at the photos, they're hard by this property. And therefore, I don't think there'd be a change in the character of the neighborhood if this was granted. That's the neighbor's property there.
And it just seems that this cabana only is too close in the back rear corners of it.
That's correct.
All right, the driveways seems de minimis, the pool patio stone. Deirdre from planning, any objection?
No objections, just maybe a condition that they can never enclose the roofed over patio, just because it would create a much larger structure at the back corner.
No problem.
All right, they agree to that. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the application with the condition that the pool patio or the that never be enclosed.
Cabana, okay.
Cabana,
Second.
excuse me, never be enclosed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, Mr. King.
Thank you very much.
All right, the next application, number 284-21, Robert Krolik. Permission to subdivide property into two parcels. Lot 1, to convert a one-story building to a single-family dwelling, leaving a side yard of 10.82 feet instead of required 14 feet. And Lot 2, to erect a two-story dwelling on a conforming lot, Residence A District, west side of Smithtown Avenue, number 1250, 217 feet south of Wilson Street, Bohemia, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
There is me.
There is you, Mr. Buscemi. How are you?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Having a care in the world, sir.
We have still have Mr.
You know
King
that.
on our, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Buscemi. We have Mr. King still in on our, can we move him out?
Yeah, let's get rid of him.
Hey, easy.
Bye, Don.
Hey,
Nothing personal.
they all say. Are we good to go?
Almost, he's still there.
Every now and then that happens. I bet Will tried and couldn't sweep him out, right, Will?
Gone on my screen.
That's correct, Mary.
No, I still see him.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, I don't see his camera, but I see his name. Yeah.
Yeah, it won't let us move him back to attendee.
All right, he hangs with us for a little bit then, as long as he's quiet.
That's right. So he doesn't cause a commotion.
Mr. Buscemi, go ahead. I apologize for interrupting. I was just trying to.
It's quite all right. Larry Buscemi, 15 Vineyard Way, Mount Sinai, New York, representing the applicant, Robert Krolik. Good evening. This is a subdivision application, which is the subdivision itself is a subdivision that conforms with code. The only issue is that in doing the subdivision, an existing building will now be converted to a one-family dwelling and therefore will be too close to a property line. Now, the point here, though, is that the building is existing and has been existing for many years and was is an office, excuse me, with parking for an office and use as an office for a construction company. So converting it to one-family use would be beneficial to the neighborhood, which, if you know Smithtown Avenue, it's has quite a lot of commercial use, especially in this part of it. Other than that, the subdivision is conformity with code and with the character of the neighborhood.
I'm just reading the CO right now on here. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't hear what you just said.
I was just reading the CO just because.
Oh. Yeah, you see, the CO was a progression of buildings that ultimately this building became a detached garage and office space. So that's what it's currently being used for commercial office space.
But out of all of this, you only need one variance for what, 3.18 feet, right?
Right, correct.
Otherwise, this is all conforming.
Correct.
Okay.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Deirdre, I'm assuming there's no objection from planning. I forgot to ask you. I apologize.
That's okay. No objections. It's only at 1.2. I think the other points of the house are 13.8 and the other point seems to be conforming.
That's correct.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Bohemia, Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Granted. Have a great night, sir. Oh, you're back on.
Well, I'm back for the next. You can't get rid of me like Mr. King.
Just watch, Mr. Buscemi. That sounds like a challenge.
It is. It is. Well, you
Mr.
can get rid of me by
Garbarino,
just
would you
granting
please do
everything
the honors?
immediately.
Next application number 285-21, Olga Perez and Elva El Aguilar. Permission to leave a roofed over patio with outdoor kitchen 14.16 feet by 21.5 feet, having a side yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet, accessory structure 8 feet by 16 feet on rear property line, not having required setback of 2 feet, 6-foot fence on second front property line, not having required setback of 10 feet, and 4-foot fence and site distance triangle exceeding maximum height of 3 feet. Residence AA District, southwest corner of Willoughby Street, number 12, and Evergreen Avenue, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
That would be me again.
All right.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, 15 Vineyard Way, Mount Sinai, New York, representing the applicant. So what we have here today is obviously multiple requests. Dealing with probably the easiest one first. That's the roof over patio, which is 3 feet rather than 4 feet. It's an attractive structure out away from the neighbors. It's a minor.
Seems de minimis. We can.
Yeah, it's de minimis.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the sight lines, we have a 4-foot fence where we need a 3-foot fence. I mean, he would be willing to cut it down, but you know,
Nice of him.
aesthetically, aesthetically, it would just look stupid if he did cut it down.
Unfortunately, the side triangles, we don't
Sacrosanct.
budge on the.
Yeah,
Sacrosanct.
sacrosanct. So then let's talk about the storage container.
Can we
which is-
talk about the fence on the, I'm sorry, you go, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. My understanding about fences like that is they are also sacrosanct. Am I correct?
Boy, you're a fast learner, Mr. Buscemi.
Yeah, so we're not both fence issues are.
Now you know why he was leaving that for last, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Why even talk about it? It was on the denial, so we had to at least talk about it. And then we have a storage container / shed that's on the property line to the, I guess that would be west side of the property.
Is this one of these steel containers?
Yes,
That
it
they
is.
use for, I gotta tell you, I've seen those turned into houses out in the Hamptons, believe it or not.
Well, this is what.
So you can argue that this is like bringing the Hamptons to Brentwood.
Oh, there you go. All right. I'll get a white shirt and white pants.
There you go.
So that, again, kind of in the character and keeping with the neighborhood. It's, I won't say it's an attractive structure, but it's.
But you can make it one if your clients.
Yeah, you
chose
could paint
to,
it or something.
Right.
What is it used for? What is it storing?
Honestly, I believe he stores stuff for his work in there. He's a contractor.
Sure.
No, he doesn't store stuff from his work in there, Mr. Buscemi.
Really? What does he? Oh no, of course he doesn't. I mean, he stores personal stuff. Contracting is his hobby.
I see. Home improvement is his hobby.
Right, exactly. He just loves to work on his house all day long. That's all he does.
Good.
Deirdre from Plan, do we have any precedent for this storage container anywhere? I don't think so. No precedent?
No.
How much does he need for that?
He needs
a change of zone if it's used for business purposes.
Exactly
not, I
right.
think.
So he needs 4 feet more, right?
Yeah, he needs 4 feet more.
So 100%.
Yes.
No, well, he's asking for a 66% variance, right?
Oh, I misread that.
Yeah.
No, it's right on the property line.
I think it only needs 2 feet.
The call said 2 feet, right?
Yeah.
It needs not having.
It's on. I'm sorry, you're right, Mr.
He's gotta
Napoleon.
shift
It's on
it.
the property line and it needs
He's
2
got to
feet.
shift it 2 feet. Kenny?
All right, we'll move it. It's not the end of the world.
That is movable. So
Yeah, it is movable. We have room, it looks like.
Yep.
All right, don't. So 1 for 4, great odds. I could play.
You went 2 for 4. You're getting something on the storage container, and
Yeah.
you're getting the roofed over
I'm
patio.
getting that I can move it to where it conforms to code.
Look at that.
He's yeah.
See what reasonable people we are.
What is to the west there, Mr. Buscemi? Do we have
A house. It's a residence.
a residence?
Yeah. The side of a residence, but it's a residence.
Then
It is. It is what it is, folks. It's fine.
what does the board see? Board see if it, what does the board say? Anyone? Anyone have something to say?
Not me.
Anyone?
Not me.
Are we
Alright,
okay? We're okay with the outdoor?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
The yes, the fences, we know about. The other fence, you got to move it back in. Storage container is going to get shifted a bit. Outdoor patio is, rooftop patio is good. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I will take a motion.
Motion to grant that portion of the application relating to the roofed over patio with outdoor kitchen, having a side yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet, and to deny the balance of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a great night, sir.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Take
You
care.
too. Next application number 286-21, Alejandro Morales and Viviana Dad. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68602, Residence District, west side of Winston Lane, number 53, 1,646.81 feet north of Broadway, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Anyone?
He's there.
Okay.
Alejandro, just unmute yourself. Little red microphone.
Yes.
There you go.
There
Good
he
evening,
is.
sir. Name and address for the record, please.
53 Winston Drive, Brentwood, New York, 11717.
How are you tonight?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, thanks. So you're seeking permission to establish accessory apartment. Appears
Yes.
at 516 square feet, and the driveway complies. Everything else is in order, ma'am?
Everything
Yes.
else is in order.
Everything's
Owner occupied?
yes.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
See you in 3 years, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next application number 287-21, Nicholas and Lisa Byler. Permission to install an in-ground pool having a side yard of 5 feet instead of required 10 feet, and pool patio having a side yard of 2 feet instead of the required 6 feet. Residence B District, northeast corner of Highland Avenue, number 85, and Chestnut Street, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, hello.
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 Evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Nick and Lisa Beeler, 85 Highland Avenue, West Islip.
Great. How are you guys tonight?
Not bad. Yourself?
Good.
Good.
I
You're,
apologize for mispronouncing your name, sir.
That's fine.
so you have a pool you're looking to put in, and you're looking for 50% relief on the rear yard.
I guess.
Yes.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah.
You,
Do you know of any, I'll just ask Deirdre, I'm sure you probably don't know of any precedent, not in the area. Deirdre, any precedent for pool?
They were actually granted an above ground pool with a side yard of 4.5, but so far in the area since then, there's only a grant with a side yard of 6 feet.
Mr. Chairman, if they got 4.5 and on above ground, I would argue that the impacts of the in-ground pool are actually less than they would be in an above ground pool.
And patio is pavers, correct, Mr. Byler?
The patio there now is just concrete. It's not paved. It's the sidewalk that goes along the garage to the backyard.
Now, the patio you're putting around the pool.
Eventually, yeah, it's going to be pavers. We haven't decided on that yet, but it's going to be something like that yet.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Next application, number 288-21, Kelly Hoffman. Permission to leave a detached garage having a side yard of 4.3 feet instead of the required 10 feet. height of 15 feet as reported by applicant instead of permitted 14 feet. To leave roofed over porch having front yard of 30 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 34 feet. To leave 6-foot fence having a second front yard of 9.5 feet instead of required 10 feet, and driveway on side property line not having a required setback of 4 feet. Residence Double A District, northeast corner of Viking Court, number 3, and Oakdale, Bohemia Road, Bohemia. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Ms. Hoffman?
Yes, hi,
That would be you.
Hi.
that would be me.
Hi, name and address for the record, please.
Hoffman, 3 Vikings Court, Bohemia.
How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
All right. So you have a detached garage that's a little too close and a little too high.
Yes,
You have it at 15 feet as reported, but your survey came in at 15.7 feet high.
yes.
Town of Islip requires 10 feet off the side and only a height of 14 feet. When was this garage built?
I want to say maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Okay. Who built it for you? Did you have a contract to build it or did you build it yourself?
My husband built it.
Okay. I don't believe Deirdre from planning, there's any precedent for that side yard or height.
No precedent for either.
So we'll just keep moving on this for a second here. Roofed over porch having front yard of 30 feet instead of 34, and 6-foot fence having second front yard of 9.5 instead of 10. All seems a bit de minimis to me. And a driveway on side property line not having 4 feet. That seems like it's a small driveway too. The real issue, Ms. Hoffman, is that detached garage being too high and too close.
Understand. So when he built the garage, we did look at the requirements for that. And we were not clear that when they looked at the square footage, that it would be basically a footprint. And he did square footage in terms of interior wall to wall is under 500 square feet. So we did not believe we required the 10-foot setback off the side property line. However, when it was all said and done, obviously, you know, based on a footprint, it's going over 500 square feet a little bit. And that's where we got into trouble. On the height, I
Well,
think,
that and the fact that you didn't have a building permit, right?
well, yeah. We didn't have to add that into it. That's why we're here. If I had that, we wouldn't be.
So if you had that, that's right, you wouldn't be here because you'd build a compliant structure.
Thank you for pointing that out, Vincent.
My pleasure.
It's only over by 11.
You guys are comical, I'm gonna tell you.
Careful, they'll charge you another fee just for the entertainment value.
So it's only over 11 square feet for the side yard. The height is a bit of an issue on.
Well, I understand that, you know, I want to say, I think your height requirements are to make sure we're not putting apartments over them. And I can guarantee you nobody's living over that. There's a ceiling in it, I believe, 10-foot ceiling or 9-foot ceiling in it. And it is strictly just used as a garage.
I understand, but we have people coming and build a detached structure all the time in front of us, and they want to maybe put a car lift in it for an old-fashioned car or whatever the case may be, and we have to keep the height to 14 feet. You're at 15.7.
I understand, but I think to tear it down and bring it down 1 foot, I mean, we're talking about a foot.
Well, 2 feet almost.
2 feet.
Almost 2 feet. I'm only 4 foot, so 2 feet means a lot, yeah.
I'm not much bigger.
What I think we should possibly do maybe is reserve this application and chat about it.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
And then we can figure out what we want to do from that. So we're going to look into it for you. If the board sees fit to reserve, we have 62 days by law, and we'll get you a decision out in the mail.
Okay, well, I do ask you to please consider, as you know, it's costly to take a roof off and reconstruct something. It's not just a matter of taking the roof off. I think you all know that. So, you know, I mean, I'm pretty much tapped out. If you look at my survey, you can see I've done quite a bit of work here.
Yep, appreciate that. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
If the board could just amend the call of the meeting, please, to the 15-7. When I had spoken with the applicant, she was not able to get a survey and wanted to be heard. So that's why I advertised it like I did.
Make a motion to amend the call to read height of 15.7 feet instead of permitted 14 feet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone?
Thank you.
No problems. Anyone should be heard in this application. Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to a reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application reserved.
Thank you.
All right, next application is number 289-21. Thomas and Linda Renzulli, permission to erect a two-story addition, 18.16 feet by 24 feet, leaving a side yard of 8.5 feet instead of required 14 feet, total side yard 16.8 feet instead of required 28 feet, and to leave deck on side property line and deck having side yard of 1.3 feet instead of required 4 feet each, Residence B District, west side of Tyler Avenue, number 22, 343 feet north of Montauk Highway, West Sayville, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes,
Good evening. Name and address to the record, please.
Edward Koenig, architect, Carmel Hill Architects.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good.
State your case.
We are proposing a two-story addition off the rear of this house, aligning with the existing setbacks in the existing corner of the house, not to encroach further into the side yards. We looked at the possibility of maintaining the 14-foot side setbacks, but as you can see from the 50-foot wide lot, unfortunately, we cannot. By pulling the addition off the rear of the house, we're also trying to maintain an existing hallway to a rear door. If we were to maintain a 14-foot setback, the remaining room that we're trying to add on to the back of the house would wind up being like 6 feet wide. So it would be impossible. Also, we're at an economic disadvantage because there is a kitchen in the back part of the house that says 1 story on the survey. If we try to relocate the hallway to the rear yard through that part of the house, it would go through basically what is a newly renovated kitchen. So for financial reasons, they can't take that avenue either. The 2 decks are, one is at grade and the second one is only 1.2 feet above grade. So I don't believe those should be too much of an issue either.
They seem small and de minimis. Deirdre from planning, any objection?
No objections. There's a side yard precedent for 8.6, 8.7, 9. So no objections.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Our next application, number 290-21, Deborah A. McSweeney and Brian R. Smith, permission to leave deck having a side yard of 1.7 feet instead of the required 6 feet, roofed over deck 11.2 feet by 20.4 feet, having a side yard of 2.4 feet instead of the required 4 feet, 8-foot fence atop deck having 100% light restriction instead of permitted 15%, and to leave encroaching shed on side property line not having a required setback of 2 feet. Residence AA District, west side of Edgewater, number 242, 2,374.84 feet south of Middle Road, Bayport, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes,
Morning, how are you again?
good.
Address for the record, but just keep it clean, please.
Yes, Edward Koenig, Carmel Hill Architects, 415 Lake Avenue South, Nesconset, New York.
State your case.
We are proposing actually a 2-story addition to this house. And when we ordered a new survey and did a verification of all the COs, we realized that the in-ground pool and the pool bar and adjacent pool deck did not have a CO. As part of the process to file a building permit for the two-story addition, we're legalizing this pool deck and bar. For privacy reasons, they erected a fence along the rear of the bar just to have some screening from the adjacent neighbor, not realizing that they were in violation of the zoning code for said fence. As you can see from the photos, it doesn't look obtrusively large or high. It's just that the very, I believe, top 2 feet of the fence don't have enough transparency. So we were forwarded to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So you're saying just if the top 2 feet don't have the transparencies?
I believe that was the clarification that I received from zoning. 8-foot fence, and then the top has 100% light restriction instead of 15%. And then that associated also with the side setback for the deck itself.
So in the past, we would have called that an 8-foot fence instead of the permitted 6. The person interpreting the zoning ordinance saw that as an 8-foot fence actually is permitted on your side property line, provided no more than 15% of the top 2 feet is opaque.
Okay. Do we have pictures of this or no?
I don't have any pictures.
Deirdre, what's planning's take on this?
Not really entirely clear why they need 8 feet. People have pools all the time and they have 6 feet, so that's where I'm a little confused. But otherwise, I don't have any problem with the deck, or I think that's it. Just, it's really the
roof over?
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure if the notice is clear, but it seems as if the applicants are hoping to legalize their neighbors' sheds encroachment onto their own property.
Yeah, that was also a bit odd.
Can I inquire for somebody? I just, maybe I didn't catch it. There's an 8-foot fence atop the deck. Is that the pool deck?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's the top 2 feet are not opaque.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever allowed an 8-foot fence? Ever?
Only if it's entirely a chain link in the case of tennis courts.
Am I able to share my screen?
Please.
Share screen.
So if we've never granted an 8-foot fence, how do we start now?
Or we can just have them have the top 15% opaque. Right?
But yeah, but we've never even granted 8-foot opaque or not.
But you're allowed to have it as long as the top 15%
Well,
is.
then you don't need a variance then, right?
Yeah. So if the top 15% was see-through.
I see-through. I didn't know that. So you can have
Mary just schooled us on it a few moments ago.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. So Mary, we can have, or they can have an 8-foot fence. It just has to be opaque, the top, whatever 15% of that is.
All right, so you could look at this as 85% relief because the top 2 feet is supposed to be virtually open.
Right.
So if the top 2 feet were virtually open, then it meets the code.
Correct.
Yes.
All right.
If it
Well.
sits atop the deck, in the past, the board had made the interpretation that it's the height from the other side that must be considered, but that's entirely in your purview.
You know what, that we had one of those cases before, and I remember we talked about what the neighbor's looking at. So they're going to be looking at 8 feet on top of what, about a foot already?
Approximately, yeah.
So why should they have to look at 9 feet of fence and deck?
Well, the deck they won't look at because it's down on pretty much on grade level, maybe a foot off.
Yeah, but it's like walling them in. And we've always had those concerns about second floor decks looking in on the next door neighbors, and now the neighbors having that walled in effect. I mean, it's like being in a prison town where they have those huge walls. But anyway, those are my thoughts.
My name is Debbie McSweeney, and I live at 242 Edgewood Avenue.
How are
The
you?
reason why we put their high fence is when we would step on our deck, we were looking in their backyard. And I thought it was rude of us to be looking in their backyard when we were there, because the decking brings us another 2 or 3 feet. And my neighbors don't have a problem with the high fence. We had actually asked them, and they said that that's even better.
Well, you know, the funny thing about that is that you show why we shouldn't grant you the relief of the side yard for the deck, because you're too close to the property line. The further back you are, the less you're going to see in your neighbor's yard if the top 15% is opaque. So you're kind of defeating your own application by making that argument.
I am also
We
concerned
could kind of kill
about,
2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah.
I'm also concerned about setting a precedent or allowing that much height of fences in the town of Iceland. It just starts to a place we don't want to go.
So I agree with you. I don't disagree with you one bit on that, but what I'm getting back to is Mary's comment regarding the fence. If they decide to make it opaque on the top 15%, is that an issue? They wouldn't even need us here then.
Well, no, they still might, because what Ms. Pissarro also said, as I understand it, is that when it's raised on top of the deck like that, you would measure it from the ground side of the pool, not from the raised deck.
8 feet from the
Am
ground.
am I correct, Ms. Pissarro?
Yeah, I mean, typically that was when it was along the property line, possibly with a retaining wall of some sort adjacent to it. This is set in 2.4 feet.
Instead of the required 6.
Right, but in the past, we have never really allowed building on top of building.
Well,
Fence on
that was
top
my
of
point.
berms.
I mean, we have to
Yeah.
consider that as well. I'm not
Right.
saying we should deny it because of that necessarily, but we have to consider that.
We've always, considered that.
And I do think that in the past, that was, a property line. This is only a small portion of the northerly property line that has this height of the fence on it. So we have to consider that also, I think.
It looks like it runs, I don't know the length of it.
It looks like it runs like 3, Mr. Coney, can you?
50 feet.
No, that's.
The height part is 50 feet?
Yep. This whole, all 5 panels.
Oh, 5 panels. I only see, I think
it's 6 panels that are 8 feet.
Okay, so 48 feet.
Mr. Chairman, would we want to reserve on this so we kind of figure out where we're going on 8-foot
I would join
fences?
Mr. Wexler in that application, please.
I agree. I agree with that.
And before you guys reserve, I just want to be sure, because it was a little tricky to advertise properly, the neighbor's shed. Unless I'm wrong, I think we're seeking permission for the neighbor's shed to sit on the subject parcel.
But I don't think
Is the neighbor part of this application?
No.
Well, then we can't do that.
do that. We can't give any.
We can't give relief to someone who hasn't applied.
Didn't think so, but the denial was written that way and the application.
Okay,
was
well,
filed.
yeah, we don't blame the applicant for that. They're trying to do right by their neighbor, so. And they're trying to do right by the town, so that's not on them.
Sure. Mr. Koenig, I believe the board is going to lean towards reserving so we can discuss this and look into this and render a decision. As you know, we have 62 days by law to render a decision. Is there any, we'll do it as best as we can. I think that's what we're leaning tonight.
Yeah, we were hoping to get this filed before the July deadline with the Department of Health, where they're going to start requiring low nitrogen septic systems for any substantial improvements on houses.
We'll do our best.
We'll
Well, we can tell you.
We'll definitely do our best. We can. Do you have, if you want, do you have a plan B for the fence? It doesn't seem like you have anything else that you're coming at us with. You have a deadline in July.
I'll discuss it with my clients this evening.
That still leaves you with a reserve, so.
You still leave
just
your
to be
reserve, which
clear.
is 62 days by law that we have.
I don't know if Brian and Debbie have logged off already.
No.
You don't want to have that discussion here in front
Yeah,
of us.
we'll mark it reserve and we will do our best.
Okay.
We normally do.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll do the best we can. It's gonna-
Next application is number 291-21, Anne Marie Horstman. Permission to establish an accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68602 with apartment having a gross floor area of 990 square feet instead of permitted 800 square feet. Residence AA District, west side of Joyce Drive, number 68, 107.8 feet south of Jane Road, Hopog, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
You're a little broken up, Mr. Guilfoyle.
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman. Optimum online connection.
How are you? You're all broken up, sir. Can you reconnect?
Yeah, I'll try to reconnect.
So we'll call you, we'll give you a second call.
Okay.
All right. Got that second call. Our next application is number 292-21, Miriam and Guillermo Rios, excuse me. Permission to erect a one-story and second-story additions, leaving side yards of 8.9 feet and 13.3 feet instead of required 14 feet each, total side yards of 22.2 feet each, instead of required 28 feet, and a floor area ratio of 32.3% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B 278 Cluster District, south side of Glen Summer Road, number 59, 984.2 feet west of Greenbelt Parkway West, Holbrook, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, hi, good evening. This is Nick Pfluger, architect, Bulla Pfluger Architects, 85 East Main Street, Bay Shore, New York, 11706.
Good evening. How are you today?
Good, how are you doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. So as you just heard, we're planning to construct a one-story and second-story addition to the existing home. As information to the board, we are also planning to proceed with a second variance hearing pending the decision in this variance hearing for a two-family use. We were informed by the zoning department that we would have to split up the variances into two separate hearings because of the amount of square footage we are adding at one time. We were told that there's a limit of adding 1/3 of the existing structure when requesting a two-family use. So I just want to bring that to the board's attention.
Full disclosure, right, Mr. Pfluger?
I'm sorry, say again?
Full disclosure, right?
Yes, exactly. The ultimate goal for the project is for the applicant, Miriam Rios, for her mother to occupy that second family portion of the structure. So with regards to the setbacks on the west side of the property that has the 13.3-foot setback, the new sidewall of the first and second floor additions will be aligning with the existing sidewall of the existing house.
I like how you go to that one first. Let's go to the 8.9.
Yeah. Start with the easy one first.
You got to warm up, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. So on the east side, the 8.9 feet, that there is a precedent that it doesn't quite match, but is close. That we did contact Ms. Ryan about, and that precedent was, I believe it was I thought I had it right in front of me. I believe it was 9.7 feet.
Yeah, stay on again. I don't know, why does it do that?
Mr. Guilfoyle, mute yourself, please.
I'll get him out.
I'm sorry, what did you say? The precedent that I couldn't catch it. What was the precedent and where was it?
Sorry about that. I believe it was 9.7, 9.75 feet was a precedent that Ms. Ryan was able to.
And that's on the 8.9 side?
Yes.
Correct. And I should also mention that the reason for that appendage that's sticking out into that side yard of 4 feet is only to house an oil tank. just, as I'm sure we can all agree, oil tanks are kind of unsightly. So the only reason for that additional encroachment into the side yard was for an enclosure for the oil tank.
So what you're saying is that the tank would have gone there anyway,
Correct.
and okay, and this is visually more appealing and has less of an adverse impact on the neighbors, right?
That is exactly correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Deirdre from Planning. Oh, hold on, we also have a floor area ratio of 32.3.
Yes, I was just about to get to that. So with respect to the FAR, the closest precedent that was found was actually 31.2%. And we did, go ahead and request the 32.38, which is just a difference of 124 square feet. The reason why we felt like we needed the additional FAR was basically to make the potential future two-family use, frankly, just work better and have enough room.
Let me ask you
for
something. What would your FAR be if you didn't do that fuel tank enclosure, Mr. Fluger?
I actually did look at that, and we would be at 31.95% if we didn't do that.
Right,
enclosure on
right,
the
your
side.
precedent area. Don't they have those
So
pretty
you-
little covers that cover the oil tank?
I don't know how pretty they are, though, as opposed to enclosing it.
Can
I
I-
mean,
Yeah.
Can
Go
I
ahead,
just
Mr.
inquire,
Wexler.
maybe, thank you, from Deidre, we have a precedent of 31.2. What is the nature and character of the neighborhood? What do you see? Are they in that range?
There's the 31.2. That case was also a little odd because there was 2 calls for the meeting. It looked like the first time they said they were 20.3 and then they came back with 31.2. They were granted, I believe, at 31.2. Otherwise, the grants seemed to be 30.3 or 30.8.
I mean, I don't know about the rest of the board, but I would much rather see an applicant enclose the fuel tank instead of having it exposed on the outside. I think it's just a far better look in any neighborhood. And,
I agree.
and
But I don't want to blow out our precedent. I mean,
well,
if
we
they
can maintain the precedent by carving the exception in this case because it's for a fuel oil tank. I mean, it's to cover a utility, so to speak.
Well, can they bring it in at 31.2? I mean, there's no precedent for I'm looking for the directions. I don't see it. For the 8.9, there's no precedent for that.
Ms. Ryan, is that true?
Sorry, for what part? I didn't hear.
8.9 side yard.
Yeah, there's no precedent for that. The closest one is 9.7. Otherwise, the precedence is 13.8, 10.8, 12, more so around there.
So, I mean, I think that's just
Well,
grand.
I mean, look, that's the concession you make for enclosing the fuel tank, whether or not it's acceptable to us, that's what we have to decide. And I know to you, it's probably not. To me, it might be.
So, you know what? Maybe we should study the precedents in the area because there's a couple variables here. We want to do what's right.
I agree.
Maybe we should reserve so we could take a look at what the nature and character of the neighborhood is
Yeah,
and give them what's allowable.
Yeah, I'd like to do that too, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
We could definitely do that unless Mr. Fluger has plan B to possibly not ask for that.
I don't know, Mr. Chairman, you're asking for a lot of Plan Bs tonight.
Well, I would hate to see.
I'm just teasing.
I would hate to see this go. Then not be able to do whatever they would like to do to their house because
Yeah, the season is upon us, right?
So I hear what you're saying, and I respect for all your board members. If you'd like to reserve, I'm in for that. But possibly Mr. Fluger has spoken to his clients and Deirdre.
Is this a
Ms.
decision
Rios has
to
her
make?
hand up, Ms. Passat.
Is this? Hang on. Is this a decision that they can make here and now?
My feed cut out for a second, so I lost the last minute.
Your
of
client
conversation.
has her virtual hand up,
Oh,
so why
yes.
don't we hear from her, Ms. Passat?
I'm
Sure.
trying. She's in the panel.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Rios. And I understand what everybody's discussing and the decisions, everybody. I'm letting my Mr. Fluger decide everything for us. He's excellent. And the only reason we're doing everything to our home, as Mr. Fluger said, is that my father passed away, and to keep his home, my husband and my 3 children came to live where I grew up. So my mom could keep her home and we can stay with her there. That's just, I just like to add that little note there.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And whatever Mr. Fluger says, that's what we go with. We trust him so confidently.
Wow, I wish my clients were that confident.
I know. If you ever need a lawyer, Ms. Rios, Mr. Wexler and I would be happy. You know.
Thank you.
It'll be the first time in our careers.
Really? Whatever he says. Wow.
So, Mr. Fluger, have you, we can reserve decision and we can discuss it. We can give you a.
Sure. My feed did cut out right before Miriam came on, so I'm not sure if I missed anything.
I think
for
what the
about 60
chairman is
seconds.
asking you is, do you have a plan B? Because there's no precedent for the 8.9% and the FAR. Maybe you could sharpen your pencil and get it down to what the precedent is.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, frankly, our plan B was to omit the enclosure for the oil tank, and it doesn't quite make the precedent at 31.2, but it does
close enough.
Get it closer. And
Why don't
actually
you reserve? Because there's a lot of calculations you're going to need to do, and we're going to have to study it. And I don't think you want to make them on the fly.
But I think he made the calculation already, Mr. Wexler, if he took that little.
But we don't know the numbers. We don't know the FAR, do we?
Yeah, we do.
He told us, he calculated it.
Yeah, it's 31.95% if we take away the oil tank enclosure.
And how about the side yard setback?
That would go away.
Correct. It would be maintained at
12.9, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Our precedent is 31.2.
So we're splitting hairs. It's 31.9. It's not like it's an, you know.
Then you're getting right up to 32. I mean, I don't see the utility in that.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor.
It is 80 square an 80 square foot difference from.
I know, but now we've
just
made the precedent 32.
But we're not taking it from 31 to 35. We're taking it from 31.2 to 31.9.
Okay, I understand, but I don't like enlarging the precedent up to 32. And that's what we're effectively doing. But I'm only 1 vote. Maybe I'm not even 1 vote.
Do you honestly think it changes?
Are you thinking of splitting your own vote, Mr. Wexler?
Yes, half one way, half the other. I
Nicely
don't
done,
believe,
sir.
obviously, granting this does not in and of itself change the nature and character of the neighborhood, but it will. That's part of the consideration, because we will not say no to the next applicant and those that follow. So we've just effectively made it 32%, and that will change the nature and character of the neighborhood.
31.9%, Mr. Wexler.
31.2 versus 31.9.
It's like
You know,
299,000 or 300,000. It's a whole different thing.
$29.99 or $30, right?
You know, 31.9 is 32. So we went from the precedent, the highest of 31.2, it's going to go to 32. I
got to tell you, the FAR troubles me less than the side yard setbacks, but
that troubles me too.
But I'll tell you this: the side yard setback troubles me less than having those exposed oil tanks. They detract, I think, from neighborhoods, and in certain areas of the town, that's how they did it, and that's So I'm a little more sympathetic on both counts, just because of the reason for the request for the variance. But the board.
I think it leaves us going where we don't.
I understand your point, and it's it has validity. But I think that there are times when you do make exceptions, and maybe you do go higher. And I think this is a pretty good reason for one. But again,
we'll never back off.
I'm only 1 vote too, Mr. Wexler.
We will never ever say to the next person, "Oh, that was only 1. We're not giving it to you."
Well, you do it all the time.
Rarely. We go to
You did it 3 times tonight.
We go to the precedent.
You did it 3 times tonight. Oh, but the sweet spot is
nobody wanted to. arguing.
I think we're getting stuck on this precedent
Oh,
for,
no, we're just teasing each other back and forth, really. But, you know, I mean, our points are on the record, our places are on the record. It's up to the remainder of the board, I guess.
Dan, Chris, where are we at here?
Okay.
Dan Sullivan, because Chris is speechless, so.
It's a rare occasion.
You're on mute, Mr. Sullivan.
Did we lose Mr. Sullivan? We lost him?
Yeah,
He's on mute.
I was on mute because my feed cut out too before. So I said I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it, I suppose.
Mr. All right, so does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to grant the application with a request to our counsel to write the decision, making clear the reason we have granted the side yard and FAR relief.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Grant's, you have a great night.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
See you soon.
You have no idea what you just got away with, Mr. Flea.
Thank you very much.
I think maybe I do. So thank you very much.
I picked the hill I'm going to die on.
Mr. Wexley, you're gracious, and I thank you for that, sir. Next application is number 293-21 CP Realty Development LLC, permission to subdivide lot into two parcels. Lot 1 to erect a two-story dwelling on a lot having an area of 10,000 square feet instead of required 11,250 square feet, and floor area ratio of 29.05 instead of permitted 25. And Lot 2 to erect a two-story dwelling on a lot having 10,000 square feet instead of 11,250 square feet, and a floor area ratio of 29.05 instead of permitted 25%, residency district, northeast corner of Connecticut Avenue, number 1410, and Delta Street, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Joseph Gabriel, architect for the applicant, 4250 Veterans Highway. We are looking to subdivide an existing parcel that had a single residence on it that burned. The residence on Connecticut Avenue had a fire.
Was it conforming when it burned?
It was conforming.
Okay.
And the idea to subdivide it was to take use of an excessively large rear yard that the applicant was not using. By dividing this 20,000 square foot lot into two, we were able to put two conforming buildings, one on each of the lots. And the reason we're here at the zoning board is because the lot area is slightly below the required 11,250. The floor area ratio at 29.05, if the two lots had been conforming, the buildings would have been at the 25% mark. So the floor area ratio is driven up by the fact that the lots are smaller than required.
Which is what you're here for a variance for.
Which is why we're here for a variance.
And Mr. Gabriel, wouldn't it be somewhat, I'm not going to use the word disingenuous, but to say that you have two conforming buildings when you're here for an FAR variance for both of them?
Well, they're conforming in every other aspect.
Okay.
Maybe
I'm nitpicking. I'm just,
I know, but you guys
a little
grant
literal.
30% as a matter of course, to Mr. Wexler's point.
Look at you staying under the 30%. How smart are you, sir?
We try.
There you go. Can we see an aerial of what the other lots in that area look like, please, Ms. Ryan?
I'm looking at a radius map here. And
I mean, it meets frontage, so it meets.
It meets every criteria but lot size.
Right. And could you show us the subject lot? That one. Okay, great. Whoop. Okay. And how, you're not creating a flag lot here, right?
We are not.
You know, the radius map, I don't know if you have this in your package.
I do, yeah.
There's,
don't.
in the
I think I
500
do.
radius, 50-foot wide lots, I see 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4 50-foot lots. Everything else is 75 or 100 or 80. It's a corner, I'm sorry. 75, 125, 100.
Yeah, but I mean, he complies with the zoning ordinance for,
He complies with the frontage?
yeah.
Yes.
It's not
Where
here for
is
a
it?
variance on frontage.
Where is it shy then? And in the
Lot
back?
area.
Depth,
Lot
right?
area.
Oh, lot area, okay.
But what causes the lot area? I mean, what
The
is the
depth.
diminishment?
Depth.
Right, because the width is okay. So
The
you're
width is
short on
okay.
depth.
So it has to
It's
be the
the
depth
Right.
based on math.
All right.
Look at you, all scientific, Mr. Nicole.
I know. I
Yeah, I heard
actually
that.
had to think about that.
I don't have a problem with the application.
Okay.
I have no issue with this.
Does
I have
anyone,
an issue with Chris Nicolia, but not with the application.
Take a number.
Peter, any objection to this application from planning?
No objections. I spoke with engineering as well. It's a dead-end street that goes to a park. And right across the street, it's a similar condition. Granted, I think they do have the area,
And the
but
depth.
the depth, sorry, no objections.
They're not short on depth, but the board is probably noticing that the lots appear relatively shallow because we don't see the minimum 25-foot rear yard too often.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Grant, sir, have a great night.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Should we call Mr.
We have one more left, so.
All right,
Your choice, Mr. Chairman, you're the boss.
you're the boss, buddy. You're
No,
much
you
more
are,
than
my
I.
friend. So, all right, we'll recall number 291.
No, we can finish it. Let's
No,
finish it.
it's fine. 291-21. Anne Marie Horseman, permission to establish an accessory apartment, right? Is that right? I'm not reading the correct one, am I?
291.
It is 291, okay.
Good evening, Mr.
Hang on, I
Chairman.
didn't
Can you hear
finish,
me?
Mr. Guilfoyle, hang on. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Uptown Code 68602 with apartment having gross floor area of 990 square feet instead of permitted 800 square feet, Residence AA District, west side of Joyce Drive, number 68, 107.8 feet south of Jane Road, Hop Hog. I'm sorry, Mr. Guilfoyle, go ahead, please.
That's all right. I'm sorry for the poor internet connect line, all different ones. Fiber optics into the house to try to alleviate. In the event seek relief to maintain square foot accessory apartment code. I know I realize that it's just, but to give you a little background, back in 2002, to build a 32 by 20 addition to my client's mother. There's no kitchen there. And then after some cardiac and some mobility issues, and easier to take care of her. 2 years after that, I rented the space to a friend. The 2002, it has been, I know it's only 36 square footage of the home, and it is a significant, really have no other choice. The property is up for permits for the garage that have to be resolved. An accessory apartment, they were looking to an apartment. So it's basically trying to find if any precedents maybe Deidre can share with us.
There's precedent for gross floor area 990 instead of permitted 800 in the area.
Correct.
There's no precedent in the area. I did start doing a little research of the town of Islip in general. The few occasions where we have allowed over the 800 square foot for accessory apartments are when houses have previously been legalized to family houses and then they're going into accessory apartments. But
Yeah.
even then, a lot of times it's like 824 square feet or a little bit above the 800 marker, not to this degree.
Yeah, Mr. Guilfoyle, I'm not sure if you heard that with your internet connection, but normally, as you probably know already, if this house had family use only status, and then they wanted to change it to an accessory apartment, we would look at something like that and say, okay, they had this status for all these years, but and we would look at it differently. This doesn't seem to be the case for this apartment, and we hold pretty strong to the size of the apartment for accessory apartments in the town of Islip to 800 feet or less.
Yeah. I know. I tried very many summing to the board, not that I don't appreciate seeing you, Eli, whenever I can. And based on the condition of the apartment, looking at it, one area there, the laundry area, that could probably be homeowner reducing the size of the 940, but this I'm just had to reconfigure the apartment altogether, but the board would allow 800 square feet as the code, correct?
Yes, you have up to 800 square feet if with driveway complying.
Yeah.
You want, we can grant you 800 square feet tonight, so you don't.
You want us to grant you 800 square feet, as Mr. Messina said, and you can figure out.
That is for me going forward. Be open permits, and the only other way to rip out the existing kitchen or an 800 square feet. And I'd rather see them do that if they possibly can, rather than rip out the kitchen.
Okay. All right. So does anyone wish to be heard? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Who's hot? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny so much of the application which seeks an accessory apartment at, I believe it's 990 square feet, and grant it at 800 square feet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Have
a good night.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, no, last application, almost last application is number 294-21, Thomas S. Ascensio and Thomas Ascensio. Permission to erect a detached garage 24 feet by 33 feet, leaving a side yard of 4 feet instead of the required 10 feet. Residency District, east side of Leopold Avenue, number 117, 75 feet north of Belmore Street, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Hello?
Oh.
Yeah, Thomas Ascensio, 117 Leopold, West Islip.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good. So you have a detached structure you're looking to erect that's a bit too close, or will be too close to the side yard of your property. It's a bit too large for that size. I believe if it's not 500 or under, right, Mary, it's 10 feet? That's 4 feet?
Correct.
Yeah, so you're a little bit large on that. And look, it appears that you have some room to build it over a little bit in the yard there, according to the survey.
Yeah, I wanted to put it there so that the driveway would go right into the garage instead of having to make kind of a right turn into the yard.
No, I understand. I totally understand your concern on that. However, with a 700 and something square foot detached structure, we have to hold the code also. If it, like I said, if it was 500 or under, you would be fine at the 4, but the size of it would have to be shifted over. Deirdre, is there any precedent at all for side yard for detached structures in this area?
There's one precedent with a side yard of 5.6.
Detached garage?
I believe so, yes.
5.6.
What were the circumstances? Do you know?
I don't think that there was anything specific about it. It was just
And
kind of granted in 2006.
Is that the only one and everything else it's compliant?
Correct.
In
Thank you.
2006, it was granted?
Yes, 190-06.
And it was instead of the required 10?
I believe so.
Okay, I thought that requirement only came into effect in 2006. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was the year 2000. Maybe they demonstrated that it was built significantly before, just a guess.
Mr. Chairman, my concern is there's plenty of room to build that garage.
I don't disagree with you, sir. I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, but also, I'd have to cut down some trees. Everybody likes trees. It's
No,
good
I
for the
love,
shade.
I love trees.
Everybody likes trees. That's a good argument.
I don't know if there's much we could do, sir, because the building could be shifted over or made smaller, and we wouldn't have this issue. Do you want to take a short adjournment and just think about and discuss what you'd like to do with this? You know where we're kind of heading, and I don't want to.
I mean, would you give me the 5.6 that those other people got?
I wouldn't consent to that when
Yeah,
it's a conforming neighborhood.
yeah. The board sees a one-off precedent, as we'd call it. Not something that we look favorably on, because it does change the nature and character of the neighborhood. If we give you this size detached structure that close, we're gonna have to give everyone that as we go forward. So
I mean, personally, I think it would look better going with the driveway going straight into the garage as far as the neighborhood goes than, taking that right turn and then having a garage in the middle of my yard.
I understand.
Even for resale reasons, I mean,
I understand.
people
But
are
if,
gonna, wonder why I put a garage in the middle of my yard.
if the garage was 500 square feet, we wouldn't have a conversation either. You could have the 4-foot, it could be there. It's just the size of the garage with the side yard. So you know where we're kind of at with this and where we're looking at. I don't know if you want some time or you want us to,
I mean, is time gonna make you change your mind?
That's great. That's a great.
Honestly,
No, I'm trying to give you time to figure out what he would be for you.
Well, I don't have much choice. I mean, if you're telling me you're not going to change your mind, then I guess I have to go 10 feet, and I really don't have much of an argument. If you're telling me that I'll take some time and you guys are going to soften up about it, then
I think your first answer was the correct one.
You want Mr. Wexler, would you be okay? Maybe 7 feet instead of they have a 5.6 of 1.
No, I honestly I would not. I think that it's a conforming
The board's
neighborhood.
information, I don't know if you all can see it, but
I
you're all
was just going to
panelists.
say
so-
it, Ms.
Yeah,
Pissarro.
just so, again, back to full disclosure, we do have the impacted neighbor, adjacent neighbor to the north, who is
Diane
present
Muccia.
and says she says she has no objection to the application.
Okay.
You know my feelings on it. I think it's a compliant neighborhood. We shouldn't start whittling it down.
Yep.
And there's no compelling reason, zoning wise.
Yep. All right. So that's where we're at, Mr. Senzio. Either could, like I said, you can be made smaller, and we don't have to decide. Yeah, wouldn't be an issue. 500 under, or it would have to be moved 10 feet off the side.
I mean, I don't want to delay this any longer, so I don't really have much choice. If I say yes to the 10 feet, am I going to have a permit tomorrow?
It's just the zoning.
You could say yes to 100 feet, you wouldn't have a permit tomorrow.
This is town government, you know.
No, we don't control that, sir.
We don't control it. So
I mean, you're not going to change your mind, so I guess I don't really have much choice.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion. We deny the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have a great night, Mr. Cenzio.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Ms. Pissarro, I believe we have two decisions, correct, that we wish to read into the record?
We do. Give me 1 second, please. Little housekeeping.
All right.
Okay.
Do you want, I'll call them if that's
Nope,
easier.
nope, that's fine. Just
Okay, I'm just trying to help.
checking the guest lists. Okay, application number 157-21, Joan Isel Cooper. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated May 11, 2021, the application is granted on motion of.
Motion.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application number 160-21, Ernest Baiha, Elaine Baiha, and Karen Baiha. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated May 11, 2021, the application is granted with the two-family, family use only being for a period of 3 years. On motion of.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we have 8 let me check that. 6 accessory apartments to renew.
Move that they be
For a period of
renewed for
3
a
years.
period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have no public hearing next Tuesday. Our next
Yay.
public hearing is May 25.
Okay, with that, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You all-
Okay, all.